Well, hey, you, and welcome back to another episode of the Miss Michaela Mae Show. I'm your host, Miss Michaela Mae. And the funny thing is, the title of this episode is The Brilliance of the Blacklist. And while I was setting up, I had this song back in the New York groove stuck in my head. And it dawned on me the first time that I heard that song was actually from the Blacklist. And I feel like the reason that it popped into my head is the last since October, so about a little over 6 months ago, I've been recording with my headphones, which was great because for me, I really needed to, and I kind of talked about this in previous episodes. I really wanted to see if I still loved podcasting and I really needed to make it fun again. And part of that was taking the pressure off. It was just showing up unscripted, talking about whatever I wanted to talk about. And it was also like taking away the mic because one of the things I was working on and am still working on in a lot of ways was my breathing and not going like right at the mic, which I can't promise you that's going to be completely gone today, but we have been working on it. And so there were just so many things that it was just making it unfun for me. And then today I'm back on the mic. I do have my headphones in so I can hear how I sound, which is a very interesting thing. But I also haven't heard that in a long time. Like my headphones right now are connected directly into my mic. So I'm in real time hearing what I sound like, which is really interesting. And so there were so many different factors that I just took away because I needed to make it fun again. And now what's actually fun is adding the professionalism back in, right? Like my hair is down, and it's washed, which is amazing. If you've been around for a little bit, it hasn't always been washed and sometimes it's been wet. And I've got the mic back up and I've been really working on some things behind the scenes as far as getting my energy back. Some of you may have listened to the episode where I talk about my horse Capone passed away and in December. And one of the things that I've been joking about, but it's actually like, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. You know what I'm talking about? Is I have so many emotional tools in my back pocket that I've been learning about in the last however many years. My favorite emotional tool is Ben and Jerry's, and I don't know that that's ever going to go away. And so just like not taking care of my body, eating more than I had been eating, like I was exercising and stuff, and like that all came to a halt. And I felt really inflamed. And now I've been really slowly working on getting my energy back. I've been fasting at night. I've been doing like warm lemon water in the morning, which just really helps my digestion. But if you don't know, it's also a really great way to like alkaline the body first thing in the morning. And then I've also been taking kelp for my thyroid, which was all stuff that like intuitively just felt right for me. I don't believe that every protocol is like right for everyone, but that's something that's been right for me. Oh, and then I do take magnesium citrate at night. So that's kind of been my protocol that I've been working on the last couple weeks, and I'll keep adding and taking away as I see necessary. But like as I've been getting this energy back, one of my big focuses was I really wanted to get my creativity back. Like I really felt like I'd gone into a creative slump, and in wanting to get my creativity back again, I knew like doing morning pages, which if you don't know what morning pages is it's a process where you just take a blank page, like in a journal, and you do like, there's no script, there's no agenda. And just for 3 pages, you basically just cleanse your brain of all of your thoughts. And so we've been doing that. And as I would say, long story long, the process of me both getting my energy back, but then also doing things to actively help me like get my creativity back. I just feel so excited to be back. I feel so excited to be back on the mic. And I just feel like that scene in the Blacklist where that song was playing and, Reddington's like running from the cops. And if you don't know the show, I'll give you a little backstory, but I'm going to finish this first. And it's just like, he just doesn't have a care in the world in this song of like, I'm back in the New York groove is like just playing. And it's just, the energy behind it is just absolutely amazing. And so, anyway, now to get into today's episode, just setting up the energy of today, which is we're back in the New York groove. I started watching, so I'm going to give you, by the way, I am going to have spoiler alerts in here. So for some reason, if you're just really want to watch The Blacklist and you haven't done so yet, I am going to have spoilers in here. So just be warned. I tend to be a person, I can listen to spoilers. I'm still either going to watch the show or I'm not going to watch the show. The spoiler's not going to like spoil. I think the only spoiler that like did devastate me actually, so this is a Harry Potter spoiler if you haven't seen the series and plan to, Dobby dying was like a huge spoiler for me. I was not expecting that, and That was terrible. So that's like the only spoiler that I felt is like made or break me. But other things people will say like, I don't want to give it away. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it. And like if I do, it's still like if I'm really immersed in it, it's not gonna take it away or add to it, right? And so anyway, so spoilers. Long story long. That's my hint for spoilers. So the Blacklist. The Blacklist came out in I was a fresh no, I was a sophomore in high school. I think it came out in 2012. Let's see. I started high school in 2011. So I think it came out in late 2012. I think it was the fall of 2012 that it started. And it was one of those, like, I just saw the preview online and thought that show looked really good and really interesting. And so I decided to give it a watch. And then I was 3 episodes in, I was just absolutely hooked. The interesting thing is, so it started when I was 16. And it didn't end until 2023. There was 10 seasons and there was a little bit of a spread with COVID. They had a really weird break with COVID. And, so this show ended up like taking up a good chunk of my life. And I decided I'm 30 now. So it was, my sophomore year of high school, and then it ended in 2023. So 3 years. So I was 27, 26, 27. So yeah, it took up a good chunk of my life, like 10 years of it. And I was very committed to this show. It was kind of funny. It's really interesting when you have something like that because it kind of becomes a marker for all of these other times in our lives. So for example, like one of the markers that like sticks out in my head is I was watching this show and I lived in LA, but I was going to college. So I didn't want to pay for TV, but I went and bought a antenna so I could hook my TV up to the antenna so I could still watch because there wasn't the like next day streaming things yet. Like I couldn't just go to the ABC. I think it came out that year, but I couldn't just go to the ABC website and like watch it the next day. And even if I could, I was so like, I'm watching it on the day it comes out because I am not seeing any spoilers online. So I was really committed to watching it. And so I went and bought an antenna and I hooked it up to my TV and like I hadn't touched an antenna in years. And I remember it was Fry's Electronics in Burbank, California. And I'm just hooking this thing up and it's just crazy like when a show ends. And then with me just rewatching the show, like you can really go back and see like how much of your life it impacted or, all these milestone markers, if you will. And so anyway, huge part of my life, big fan of Blacklist, just absolutely love Raymond Reddington as a character. That's the main character in the Blacklist if you're new to the Blacklist. And Reddington is the most wanted fugitive in America in the show, and he turns himself into the FBI and becomes an informant for the FBI. But what's really interesting is he's still running his criminal empire, and so he's doing this work for the FBI, but then he's still running his criminal empire, and it's very fascinating. But James Spader plays Raymond Reddington, and the way that Spader brought this character to life is just, I'm still just so mesmerized by it, and I'm just so in awe of how Spader brought this character to life. I mean, there are just certain shows where when you watch the movie or the TV show or whatever it is, and you find out like, oh, this actor was also up for this role, you think to yourself, oh, I could totally see that actor in this position. And in fact, I wish that actor would have been cast, for, this might be a bad example, but I do think I actually like Kristen Stewart as Bella Swan in Twilight. I grew up in the Twilight era. And I think for me, it just kind of is what it is. Like, that's all I know. So, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, I kind of wish I could, like Edward Pattinson to me is Edward. There's a part of me that's like, I wish I could have seen someone else as Bella. Like, I don't necessarily feel like there was another role that Kristen Stewart, gosh, I think it was called Speak. There was a book about it. I can't remember, but there was another role when she was younger, pre-Twilight, she played. Like, I felt like she was made for that role. Like, it was perfect role for her. Bella, I don't feel that way about. On a different, side, if you watch or have watched Lord of the Rings, there was a different actor cast as Viggo Mortensen's character Aragorn. I can't imagine anyone but Viggo playing Aragorn. Like, he was made for that character. Marty McFly in Back to the Future, there was a different actor originally cast for that. It's a very similar story. Then partially through filming, they're like, this guy's just not the vibe. And they brought in Michael J. Fox. And so I just can't, like, watching those movies. I just can't imagine another like, I'm like, those roles are made for that. And I feel the same way with Spader and Reddington. Like, I cannot imagine anybody else playing Raymond Reddington. Like, James Spader just brought that character to life in a way that nobody else could. And there's just these monologues and these stories he goes off on that Spader just embodied so well, and they still give me chills when I go back to watch them. So, and I think just the stories that Reddington told, like, they just leave a mark on you. And again, with the way that Spader brought them to life, like, they just leave a mark on you, I think, and in a good way. But what's interesting is I've really been playing with this philosophy, if you will, that we never watch the same movie, the same TV show, or read the same book twice. And the reason, because again, like, sitting here, like, I just rewatched The Blacklist. It's like, well, Michaela, then technically, Michaela, didn't you listen to it twice? Watch it twice? Well, okay. If we take it at face value, of course. However, I'm not the same person. When I watched some of these episodes for the first time, I'm 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 years old. I'm 30 now. And so I never will watch that show twice, because I'll never be 15, 16-year-old Michaela watching The Blacklist. I'll always be whatever age I am today. And in that, I'm not the same person. And so it was really interesting going back and watching The Blacklist. Is there's so many things that I didn't appreciate about The Blacklist the first time I watched it that I now get. So, for example, the first watch through, I was really upset with how it went. So I felt like the first few seasons were really strong. And then there's a point where one of the main characters dies off about halfway through, I think around season 6, I think. And I felt like things just got weaker and weaker after that. So my first watch through, I'm like, man, the first few seasons of The Blacklist, like, there's nothing else made. It was the most amazing show I've ever watched. And then I get further into it, and I just felt like it got weak. However, watching it as present day Michaela, if you will, I did not feel that way. And what's really interesting is, because I have this different perspective around change and what makes a character powerful and what no longer makes a character powerful. And in my younger, if you've read The Great Gatsby, in my younger and more vulnerable years, I really was stuck on, like, the character only stays good if they stay in the same role, meaning that character is always the hero. That character is always the strong one. Like, the character, if we go kind of stereotypical and go Star Wars, which I love Star Wars, so no shade against Star Wars. But one of the reasons I had issues with the later movies, the sequels that Disney made, and I do still have issues with those, is I hated the way Luke changed. However, we're always going to change. And that was just something, like, I really, that expectation that I put on the show, on The Blacklist, or any characters in any show or TV I ever watched, movies or TV I ever watched, it was like I expected that character to stay the same all the way through. I expected them to stay the hero all the way through. And yeah, there are different forms of that, but the kind of hero that I expected them to stay was, the strong one, always, in the front lines. And the truth to be told is, we do have that part in our journey where, we're at the front of the line, we're the hero, we're, the forward facing thing, like, it's the main event. And then we have the times where we go to more of the mentor or the Yoda, or, it's more of a little bit more of the behind the scenes character, or it's the character's time to just trail off. And that was what I was having a hard time with, I believe. And I didn't have the words to put to it. My first watch through with The Blacklist was Reddington gets more passive, gets weaker. And again, these are where the spoiler alerts are coming in. So, Liz, which is Reddington's, like, heartbeat in a lot of ways, ends up dying off. In the season after that, after Liz dies, Reddington was still a very strong character, but he was really focused on revenge, like, finding her killer. And it was like, after he found her killer, he really had nothing to live for. And the last season is very flimsy. It felt very flimsy when I first watched it. And then watching it again, I realized it was the character surrendering in a lot of ways. Like, Reddington had spent, his whole life building this empire to protect Liz. Well, now that the person he built all this for to protect was gone, he had no reason to keep building it. He had no reason to keep it standing. And, he kept it going. But then once he found her killer, it was like, I got nothing. And I really loved the ending episodes in a way that I never expected to love them, because I finally understood it. And, for me, again, if you listen to my episode about where my horse died, my horse died in December, and I catch myself asking myself every day if I still want to be a part of horses, because I don't love it like I used to. And I keep trying to, find ways to make it work or make myself love it. And I'm kind of, at the point, it's like, it's also okay if you just don't love it anymore. Like, it'll come back if it's meant to come back. And if it doesn't, like, that's okay. It made you who you are. It created like so many things in your life. And so I kind of understand the ending seasons of Reddington in a way I never understood him before. Cause I didn't really realize I was holding on to horses primarily for my horse that passed away. And in him passing away, it does feel like a permission slip of like, you are allowed to give this up if you want to. Like, you don't have to keep hanging on. And what I felt like my horse did was like, and don't hang on for me, right? Which is really hard. Like, I've struggled with it a lot, especially, the horse, the few horses I have now. I've got one rescue horse that I could rehome him. Like, I felt like I've done my service for him. And then I have my old horse. I won't get rid of her. Like, she'll be with me till she passes away. But then I have a young horse that I love him. I love him. And I don't want to get rid of him, but I'm also in this limbo of like, but is it fair to keep him if this is not something I wish to pursue, and trying to find other avenues around that I have not figured out yet. But it's been a struggle. And me, like, because, having horses has been such a big part of my identity for so long, it is not an easy thing for me to let go. But in watching Reddington in the last few seasons of The Blacklist, I saw and understood a version of him that I didn't see and understand before, because I hadn't really lived through that. I hadn't experienced it. And so back to what I was saying is, we never really read the same book twice. We never watch the same movie twice. We never watch the same TV show twice, because we change and we transform and we have things happen. And when those things happen, we have a different set of experiences that we never had before. And because of those experiences, we have a different perspective that we've never had before. And when we have a different perspective, we never look at things the same way again. And so when we can't look at things the same way again, of course we can't read the same book twice. Of course we can't watch the same movie twice. Of course we can't watch, the same TV show twice, because of this new lens, because of this new perspective. And so I really saw a brilliance in The Blacklist as a whole that I had never seen before. Again, I was really focused, my first watch through, of how the first few seasons were just so amazing and how after that they weren't. But then they're only not amazing if I compare the last few seasons to the first few seasons. But if I look at the whole show and the character arc, is Reddington's clearly my favorite character, and I look at that arc and like all the things that he went through, the show is brilliant. The show is absolutely brilliant. Like, watching someone who comes in, again, part of the purpose, because like his empire wasn't strong enough to continue to protect Liz on its own in the criminal world. So he comes into the real world, or the FBI world, to continue to protect her, to build his empire and his resources for her even bigger than they were before. And then, to have this, part of his life being the driving factor, and then to lose that driving factor. Yeah, I just experienced and saw it in a way that I never saw it before. And then there was one last thing on my rewatch that really I did not pick up the first time. And I think it was because, prior to, I was always working for someone. Like, when I had rewatched it, I think I was at the end of because the last season played late 2023, like the summer of 2023. And I quit my job in April of 2023. So again, I was always working for someone. I'd never like just tried to work for myself. And at the end of the last season, Reddington really has fully surrendered as far as like given up his empire. Like, he even turned his empire into the FBI. Like they found him out, but he purposely did it. And at the end, he really, to the outside eye, would appear that he is down to nothing. And so his right hand person, Dembe, had become an FBI agent and was now working for the FBI. So the FBI is now in charge of finding Reddington. And one of the characters, I can't remember if it was Donald or Harold, said, well, he's going to be easy to find because he's now just given up all of his resources. Like, he literally just turned his information intelligence network over to the FBI. Like, he doesn't have the connections. And Dembe, who had worked beside Reddington for years, said, no, but like, they said something to like something to the effect of like his greatest assets are gone, or his greatest, I think it was his greatest, he doesn't have his greatest resources anymore. Like, he's lost out on all of them. And Dembe was like, you don't understand. Raymond's best resource is his mind. He will find a way out. Like, don't assume this is easy because he's lost all these other things, because he still has his mind. And that like blew me open and like changed my perspective on so many things in a way that it never had before, because we can get so stuck into the perspective of we have to have a certain amount of dollars to make our dreams come true, or we have to have a certain amount of followers on social media to make our dreams come true. Like, we have all these contingencies of what we have and have to have, but at the end of the day, we always have our best resource, which is our mind. And if we don't have full control and full, I would say like knowledge and navigation, honestly, of our mind, like knowing how to navigate it and really like, this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, is when I was a kid, and I don't know if you felt this way too, there was this, it was almost like an imagination kind of a thing. Like, if I go back to like 16-year-old Michaela's perspective, there was this assumption would be a good word actually, that once I turned a certain age, it's like I would have everything figured out. Like, the adult brain would click on, I would get the perspective, and I would just know how to do things. It would all click. And I think I got to about 25, 26, where I finally realized, like, nobody has it figured out. Like, we're all just figuring it out as we go. The only thing that I think some people have that other people don't is I think some people have mastered their own bullshit other than others. I really think that's it. I think the people that we see that are, like, successful, they've just figured out how to navigate their own bullshit. And their bullshit meaning their limiting beliefs, their emotion, like that stuff. They figured out how to get over it but it doesn't mean they don't have it. They've just learned how to navigate it. And so that's like, to me, when, you know, they're talking about like why Reddington's greatest resource is his mind, is he knows how to navigate his own bullshit, but he also knows how to navigate like other people's around him as well. Which just, you know, and we all have that capabilities. Like, Reddington built one of the greatest empires, the greatest resources, not because he had resources, but because he had the resource, which was his mind. And because he had such a brilliant mind, he was able to build all of that stuff. And it just impacted me so much, because I realized, like, in rewatching, you know, I just finished it like probably a month ago. In rewatching that, I realized how many times I say I don't have the resources to do what I want to do. And it finally, like, in hearing Dembe say that about Reddington, it dawned on me like, oh, I already have my greatest resource, which is my mind, which is my brain. And right now, like, that was kind of the thing that got me to like, okay, I got to start getting my energy back. I got to start getting my creativity back. And this is also like, you know, we talk about self-help podcasts and all of this stuff. And it's like, but this show is like, obviously I'm learning my tools from people, but hearing that, you know, Dembe say that was what really, like, you know, sent me into action, was knowing that and like watching this and just knowing it was true. Like, even if it's in a fictional story, like, we know truth, like, we can feel it. It resonates with us. And I just knew that was the truth. And so that's what like started me on this journey of like, okay, I've got to get my energy back. I've got to get my creativity back, because I have to get mastery over my own mind, because the mind is our greatest resource when we have like total mastery over it. And I haven't for some time. Like, my mind has definitely been running the show for some time. So it's like, okay, back in the New York groove, back in the saddle, and we're going to get this thing going, because I have my greatest resource. I just have to use it properly, because I have not been using it properly. And I think it's just a good reminder that, you know, the mind is the horse, and we're the rider, and the horse is either, you know, we're going off for an adventure or we're taking a great ride. And so it's like, which one do you want to do? But yeah, that to me, and that's why I wanted to name the title of this episode "The Brilliance of the Blacklist," because that is the brilliance of the Blacklist, is, you know, the truth that Reddington shares, that Spader brings to life, but then also just, fictional or not, showing the capabilities of what one human can be capable of. And even that's why there's people that have some issues with the ending, but that's why I actually think the ending is so brilliant, is because no living person ever defeated Reddington. Like, his certainty in himself was so strong that still at the end, no living person defeated him. I actually am not going to tell you how he went out. I'll let you watch that episode, but which is just the last episode. But rewatching that show, I really saw a brilliance in it that I had not recognized before, because, again, I was looking at it through a different lens. The last time I watched it, I hadn't lost my horse yet. So there was like a grief and a misunderstanding, or an understanding that I had not had before. And then after, you know, Capone died, I had those things. And it was like, I get this character on a level. And actually, for what I was so mad about, how the character, I felt like the character just went out so weak. I'm like, actually, he didn't. And it was one of the most brilliant. There's still a couple of things I have issues with, but obviously. But overall, it just gave me a new respect and love, honestly, for the show. And I really think it's just one of the most brilliant shows of all time. So if you've never watched it, I really encourage you to go watch it. It's been one of my favorite shows. It was great to rewatch it. Maybe in a few years, I'll rewatch it again with a different lens and perspective and stuff. But for now, yeah, the Blacklist is just absolutely brilliant. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a bit. It's been so good. It was so good to get back on the mic and just talk about one of my favorite things that I love, which is the Blacklist. And also, I am starting to record my audiobook this week. So it was good to just test. That was one of the reasons I wanted to get back on the mic specifically, and not just my headphones today, is I wanted to do like a trial run for the audiobook and just see how it was going, and then see if I knew how to breathe, which is always like breathe without. And who knows, maybe I didn't. Maybe I totally missed it, and you're going to be listening to this episode and be like, Michaela, you've got to go take a breathing class. And I'm going to be like, bro. I'll add it to the list. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Miss Michaela Mae Show. I really appreciate you being here. As always, I'm here with my corgis, Tank and Willie. If you found value out of this episode, if you appreciated this episode, I'd absolutely love if you could rate and review. Leave me a review. Let me know what you loved about the show, what you'd want to hear more of, Actually, you can tell me what you want to hear less of, but I'm probably not going to listen. So there's that. But either way, I appreciate you being here, giving me feedback in real time. And Willie, Tank, and I will talk to you next time.